Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
What? The Conspiracy Farm. Ladies and gentlemen, locked and loaded for another episode of the Conspiracy Farm. Jeffrey Wilson, as always, riding shotgun with my partner in crime, UFC Hall of Famer, Pat Miletich. How you doing today, champ? On the road, Pat Miletich.
I'm doing good, Jeff, and it sounds like you're in a much better mood today to do the podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, man. I had a couple people like, dude, what was up with you the other day? I want to apologize. The 2 episodes ago, even the last one I was cussing a lot, but the 2 episodes ago, I was just out of control. I was talking to myself before the show. I'm like, Jeff, you really probably shouldn't go on air. Something's up with you right now. And it was really just everything, the serious stuff. It really, really got to me. So I apologize for dropping too many F-bombs, but I was pretty upset that evening, but today we're definitely.
This is a very positive podcast today.
Yes.
So there won't be any need for any F-bombs. We're going to have a very pleasant conversation with our good friend Tim James.
Absolutely, unless I'm like, get your effing sleep. We might go there, but no, like you said, our resident health guru, who we have back often. His products are absolutely amazing. He's the CEO, the El Jefe of the Chemical Free Body, and he is joining us today. Mr. Tim James, how are you today, sir?
Fantastic, guys. Fantastic. Glad to be here. Glad to share, as always.
Yeah, it's always good to have you back, man. You've been kind enough to share some of your products with myself and Pat, and I really, I can't be thankful enough, man, that from the gut stuff, we can get into it again, how important the gut is, to the awesome greens that you sent out, the alpha dude, holy shit.
There it went. That was a minute and 10 seconds here. We broke it.
Holy feces. The alpha dude. Yeah, man, it's good stuff. What have you been up to, man? I mean, you're obviously very, very busy. Any new information? Obviously, new information report. What you been up to, man?
Oh, just lots of cool stuff. Setting up systems to be able to help people. Continuing to refine the process and simplify so that we can meet people where they're at in their busy, crazy, hectic lives, and just slowly and gradually transition them out of illness and sickness and tiredness and brain fog and get them back to feeling like a human being again, where they can function and be a leader in their family and their community. And we're very committed to this mission. There's just so many people out there suffering today with health issues. And actually, the foundation for what we do is to really promote people finding their passion, right? Because like 71% of people are just going to work to punch to get a paycheck, and they're completely disconnected at work.
Yeah.
That's a sad thing when you're spending half of your waking life doing something that you don't even like. I mean, that is very depressing. And so what we want to do is what we're good at. We've helped transform ourselves. So we teach people through health how to get that spark and that vitality back, get their brain and their mental clarity back so that they can go find out what they're passionate about if they don't know, and then freaking go do it, so they can be happy and be a contributing member to our society. So that's what we've been up to, and we're having a lot of fun.
I mean, you're killing it, absolutely. And something that's a huge component is, and you just mentioned this, there's no real silver bullet per se. Everybody is different. So, it's interesting that your job, having to kind of cater your program, if you will, for everybody's kind of different lifestyles and body types, if you will. I mean, kind of speak to that, how you kind of have to cater each of your programs for the individual.
Well, as far as the catering goes, that is kind of a secondary piece. Initially up front, what we do is we work on the foundational stuff to get people transformed. And just for the people out there listening, if you're a first-time listener, it wasn't 7 years ago, a little bit more than 7 years ago. I was age 37, and I was 38 pounds overweight. I had a big fat gut, a double chin, skin issues on my shoulder and my knee. I was fatigued. I wasn't sleeping well, which we'll be talking about today. I was taking Tums and Rolaids like crazy because I had acid indigestion. And what I found out later is I had what was called leaky gut syndrome, where you get these little tears, microscopic tears in your intestinal tract, and then undigested food particles and microbes get into your bloodstream, which cause inflammation, which lead to thyroid issues and just all these diseases. And everybody, 90% of people are dealing with that. And, my friend got cancer. We went to the Hippocrates Health Institute. We learned about detoxing and cleansing toxins out of the body. and putting good nutrients in. And I transformed myself, and I lost like 27 pounds in 60 days. Within 90 days, I dropped 38 pounds, and I've kept it off now pretty much. I mean, I've wavered a little bit here and there, but and it's been over 7 years. Wow. So we live it, we breathe it, we've done it ourselves. We've helped well over 500 people transform. And what we're up to now is basically just getting back to the foundation and the fundamentals for people. Because in the beginning, when I started doing this work, I was like, oh my God, you have to go plant-based, and you have to juice twice a day and buy this juicer and do all this stuff and grow sprouts. And people got excited because I was so excited, and my skin, it was literally glowing, and my wife's skin was glowing because we transformed ourselves. But it just wasn't sustainable for people. And after 5 years, I realized I had to make it easy. So what we focus on, guys, now is just getting people to do the basics, which we know they're not doing. Number one, drinking water. People are not drinking enough purified water. We get them to chew their food until liquefied, a big thing. We get them to avoid drinking liquids with meals. Game changer, absolute game changer for digestion. And then we get them to do a little bit of breath work, 9 deep breaths to a 5 count in and a 5 count out before they eat, or anytime they're stressed out, to put them back into rest and digest mode so they can actually digest their food and eliminate stress. And those are foundational things that, you might be listening to this today and go, oh yeah, I've heard about drinking water and chewing my food and blah, blah, blah. But the difference between doing that and not doing that is planets apart, right? And I'm telling you, I've done this with hundreds and hundreds of people. And when we get these foundational pillars of health in place, these rituals, people's lives transform. They transform. And this is before we even introduce supplementation and cleansing. Sure. So anyway, so we like to meet people where they're at, and we like to start them off with simple things that they can do, and give them little tips so they can start getting, baby steps basically. Right. But those baby steps, month after month after month, I mean, it's like these people take off like a rocket ship, and their energy comes back, and their mental clarity comes back, and they get motivated, and now they want to go work out, and now they want to go to the gym, and now they want to start eating better. So we're kind of the people that come in and help them, support them, and get that spark going inside of them again, and get that flame burning of health and vitality. So then, bam, then they can go out and do what they're passionate about, and that's what we're passionate about.
And then we do have some new listeners, and you've been on several times, obviously. Talk to us, if you don't mind, because it was actually really mind-blowing to me, the role of gut health and serotonin production. We always think of our brain as like the serotonin producer. I mean, talk to us about that, man, how huge gut health is to our overall, homeostasis, if you will.
Well, it's a big deal. It's a huge, massive deal. So the way I look at the body is I look at it like a car, okay? And if you're driving your car down the road and the check engine light comes on, what do? You don't keep driving it, because if you do, you're going to have a huge, expensive repair bill, or it's going to break down and leave you stranded, okay? So the metaphor is for your body. You're going through life, you're driving the car down the road, you're taking your body through life, and then all of a sudden you have a check body light come on. Would be like the check engine light for the car. You're overweight, you're fatigued, you can't think well, you have cancer, you've got like skin issues like I had, like eczema, psoriasis, these types of things. Maybe you have gut issues, irritable bowel syndrome, colitis, Crohn's, diverticulosis, all these crazy terms. You can't sleep well. These are all check body lights, right? Now, what do we do, though, as humans? We just keep driving the car. We don't stop, right? We watch a freaking commercial, and somebody looks like crap, and they're like, oh, take this pill, and then the next day they see them dancing through the tulips in their well, because people don't have time. They don't think they have time to invest in themselves. They don't want to they don't want to change their diet. They don't want to change their life. They just want a pill and then go back to what they were doing. But it's a recipe for disaster, because eventually that car is going to go off the road, and it's going to hit a telephone pole, and they're going to crash, and then they're going to find themselves in the hospital, and then they're going to get more drugs. They're going to get cut. They're not going to have a good life. And what are they doing? Your health does not only affect you; it affects everybody around you, your friends, your family, and your community. So it's just, we're dragging ourselves down because we're under this illusion that you really don't have to pay attention to this stuff. So what we do is like, no, look, if you have a check body light on, that's a warning sign. We've got to get you into the shop, and we have got to clean the car. We've got to change the transmission fluid. We've got to flush out the engine. We've got to change the spark plugs, change the fuel filter. And it's the same thing with the body. So what we believe is the first step to doing this is cleansing. cleansing is number one, which is going to lead to the gut health, what we were talking about. We have to clean the cells in the gut. So water is why water is so important, because your body's mostly made of it, and that's going to help start flushing all that crap out and all the toxins and all the processed and cooked foods that have accumulated in your digestive tract. So we got to get lots of water in the system, and then we have to clean the digestive tract. We have products for that are very gentle that do that. And then after that's clean, then we have to start putting in the good nutrition, right, which is the fuel, and then we start recolonizing that bacteria in the gut, which represents around 70 to 80% of our immunity or our immune system, which is basically our defense from everything on the outside. Viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, fungus, mutant parasites, all these things. Our bacteria is our protection. It's like a shield, and it's wiped out with chemical toxicity and stress and poor food choices. So most people's guts are completely jacked. There's hardly any good bacteria in there, and they've set up an internal terrain to breed the bad ones. So, by cleaning them out, putting good fuel in, and then recolonizing with probiotics, people are probably familiar with this. They just have to be careful, because a lot of the probiotics in the market really don't do a whole lot. And if you think you're getting probiotics from yogurt, unless it's like a homemade, coconut or almond yogurt or something like that with good bacteria, most of that stuff is just dying in the stomach acid anyway, so it's a joke. But
let me ask you a question real fast. I heard about tequila. I heard drinking tequila, obviously in moderate amounts, is good because it's a probiotic. Have you heard anything about that?
I think I heard some of that in passing, but
no real
I don't drink anymore, so
sure.
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. Typically, alcohol kills it, so I don't know.
What'd you say, Pat?
Well, it sounds like a good excuse to be an alcoholic on tequila.
Right, exactly. My gut. I'm drinking it from my gut.
Hey, I don't know, guys. It might be a better way to go. You'd have to. It's all about.
Well, explain how gut health is so important in reducing and eliminating not only inflammation throughout your entire body, and people only understand the inflammation like I had in my joints and muscles from eating processed foods and the genetically modified grains and all that sort of stuff, but also how it ends up affecting mental health. And we see the crazy thing is a lot of people don't even realize that processed foods are causing mental illness a lot of times, and people try to discount this. The naysayers say no, that's ridiculous, but it's the truth. Where when I started posting results about not eating processed foods, not eating wheat and soy, and what was happening to my body and the inflammation going away, my arthritis disappearing, all the other stuff, where people started talking about their children that had autism to ADHD, all these other things, that was eliminated by taking their kids off processed foods and off of wheat and soy. So try to maybe help people understand how not only the inflammation in the body, the joints, the muscles, but also mental health.
Sure. So what we have to look at is like the body is not compartmentalized. It's a one unit deal. Your body's all connected, just like all of us are all connected in this ecosystem with all the animals and the plants. It's kind of a, if you look at the earth and you pan back, it almost looks like a cell, and the rivers look like veins, and and then we become like the little viruses and bacteria and mold and all these things that are there, right? So when you go into the human body, it's the same thing. So if you have inflammation, number one is water, right? So if you have inflammation in your body, the gut, what you can do is it's got basically an acidic terrain, right? Because you're not drinking enough water. You've been eating, like Pat said, these processed chemicalized foods that have destroyed your gut, that are destroying your brain, because there's that gut-brain connection we'll talk about. So I think as far as inflammation goes, when you focus on the gut, it's not just the gut, because everything's connected. If we just focus on the entire body, but we start with the gut, and that all happens with drinking the water, cleaning the digestive tract out, and removing all that acid, right? All that acid buildup. Because people don't realize that if you're not drinking enough water, your body still needs water. Your brain needs water for processes. Your body, your digestive tract needs water for digesting foods. And where does your body go for water? First, it goes to the colon. So then it takes water from the colon, which is your waste removal system, and it becomes dried, and then the fecal material starts impacting. month after month, year after year, and then you end up with about 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. That's what ends up happening. And then eventually it goes past that little valve called the ileocecal valve from the colon to the small intestine, and then we start polluting and acidifying our small intestine. And that's what happened to me. And then you get that acidic terrain, and then you get these microscopic tears and holes in your intestine because you're in an acid environment. And that's inflammation, guys. And then it gets into the bloodstream. Then you have your blood basically is, there's inflammation systemically or internally. It's basically what it's called. And it's just a vicious cycle. So the simple answer is to drink a lot of water, clean out your digestive tract and your pathway of elimination, and then rebuild it with good bacteria, those good probiotics. And then your stomach and your gut is going to be, not your stomach, but your gut's going to be more alkaline, and it won't set up a terrain to house those harmful organisms, the viruses and the bacteria and the moldy yeast and the parasites. So that's important. And then we have there's a nerve that runs from the intestines up to the brain called the vagus nerve, and that's where that gut-brain connection is. And most of the serotonin in our body is actually supposed to be produced in the gut. And we know that serotonin is that happy juice, and we want to be happy, right? So if your gut's jacked up, how well is it going to produce serotonin? It's not, right? So that's why we have to get our gut, and we focus on gut. We focus on that because we try to help people heal themselves from the inside out. Like women out there that might be listening, if you want to have beautiful skin, you focus on the gut. Guys, you want to compete at a high level and be able to outperform your competition, you focus on the gut. You want to be a healthy mom and a good example to your kids, or a healthy dad, you focus on the gut. Because it's going to make you happier, you're going to feel better, just everything works better because the internal engine is clean, it's lean, it's greened up with good nutrition, and it's got all this bacteria in place, which should weigh about 3 to 5 pounds. Now think about that. Think about picking up a 5-pound weight, how much that weighs. That's how much good bacteria that you should have lining your intestinal tract. And a lot of us just don't have that today. So it's really important for mental health because of that gut-brain connection. And I see so many people, as soon as we get their gut cleaned out and we start reestablishing the bacteria, the brain fog it lifts and it goes away. So it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. But again, water, I can't impress to everybody enough how important it is to drink purified water on a daily basis.
I'm sitting here pounding water as we speak.
Nothing better for inflammation than water.
Something you mentioned, and I think this is very true. I mean, there's such a huge element of our personal responsibility and role in this whole thing. Obviously, I mean, I see people who honestly will see an engine light on their car and take better care of their car than they would their human body. So talk to us about how huge, I guess, the discipline, the individual discipline is in just changing these habits, changing these behaviors. You could easily hey, I drank water for a few weeks, my gut's cool, and I'm going to go back to freaking Big Macs or whatever. I mean, help us to understand how this is really, obviously a choice we have to make, but how this has to be like a lifestyle alteration. That's
the word right there. That's what we teach people. This isn't like take a pill and tomorrow you're better program. And we're not doctors, and we don't claim to be. I'm just a kid that grew up on a farm. I hunted and fished. I ate a lot of meat. I ate the standard American diet. And at 37 years old, I was a fat dude. And I was inflamed. And I had a lot of health issues. And I was heading towards a not fun life. And I was literally living an example that was very poor for my children to follow. And reflecting on that, really, I'm so glad that I'm very happy that my friend got cancer. I am, because by him getting that, and we going to that institute and learning all this stuff, it changed my life. He's thriving today, by the way. Supposedly, he should be dead by now.
That's awesome, man.
And he just went to the doctor. I just actually ran into his wife at a local healthy, homemade, handmade food restaurant deal downtown Portland. And I was like, Judith, hey, what's going on? And we were talking, and she's like, oh, yeah, Charles just went to the doctor yesterday and got his blood work back. And she's like, it's really good. It's really good. This is like going on 8 years after the diagnosis of this incurable cancer, right? But he took charge of his life, and he created a lifestyle, right? He created a lifestyle that that keeps him well. That's basically what it boils down to. It's about the lifestyle.
So Tim, are your children vegan?
No, and I think that's because we live. I had a child I separated with their mom a long time ago, and then we split time with them. They were in different homes, and then it's a long story, but they're coming around now because instead of me trying to jam it down people's throat like I did for 5 years, this was before I even got into business, because I'm like, look, people, it's like Charles had freaking cancer. We did this. He healed himself. I had all these issues. It's gone. Why won't you do this? Well, because I was so excited, and then all the people around me, I was too close to them, and a lot of them thought I'd lost it. But after a while, the results started speaking for themselves, and a lot of them came in. But the way I was doing it was too confusing, because when I do something, I do it freaking 100%. I was doing this to buddy up with Charles because I thought he was going to die. So I said, dude, I'll go all in on this deal. I mean, I would have never thought in a million freaking years that I would have eaten only plants. I was the biggest meat eater in the world. I even thought vegetarians were weird people. I thought they were. I didn't know.
Well, let's be honest, Tim. Most of them are.
Yeah. Well, I was crazy for 5 years.
I'm messing with you, of course.
Well, I mean, some of them are. So if you're going to make some transitions in your life, I'll tell the listeners right now, leave your family and your friends out of it and do it very quietly. Especially depending on your relationship with them. Just do it quietly and let your results speak for themselves, and then they'll come to you when they're ready, and then just give them basically turn them on to other people. You can send them to our website. There's a lot of people out there sharing this stuff, and let them just discover it that way, because if you try to push it on people, they go the complete opposite way. They really do.
And obviously people that are listening to this are going to be very excited about, looking at chemicalfreebody.com, looking at, all the different videos that you've got up, a lot of educational stuff on there, and researching your products and stuff. And you're planning on doing some sort of giveaway, aren't you?
Yeah, I was going to do that at the end, but I'll do it right now. Thanks for reminding me. So if anybody would like to, we have our Ultimate Gut Cleanse Manual is a manual it's basically how I healed myself of leaky gut syndrome. It's a detox manual to get all the chemicals and the toxins out of your body and repair your gut for weight loss and maximum energy and vitality, whether you're an athlete or a mom or whatever. We sold that with our coaching program for $197 for years. I just dropped the price to $37.95, and I'm going to give that away for free. If anybody wants a copy that's listening to Conspiracy Farm, just send an email to info@chemicalfreebody.com. That's info@chemicalfreebody.com. We will send that to you gratis or free, complimentary, however you want to structure that. And then also I want to do an extra bonus today. If anybody's interested, they want the manual, we're also going to give away a free 30-minute health history with myself or one of our coaches. I've got 4 coaches, just to do an assessment for you. So you fill out a little health history form, and then you submit it 24 hours before we meet, and then we go through that with you, find and identify, what's going on in your life, where you want to go, and kind of help you get a plan. And then at the end of that, if you want to continue with our coaching program, that's great. If not, you got a nice free 30-minute session with somebody that's already transformed themselves in a big way, and they can help at least get you in the general direction so you can start moving in the right way for yourself. So we'd be happy to do that.
That's great stuff.
And none of these things obviously happen overnight. We had spoken off air, and I'd seen some messages between you and Pat. I mean, somebody you had been working with seemed to get a little frustrated, and you're, I think, in the process of reaching out to this person again. Kind of speak to that, because I'm sure he's probably, or she is probably not the only one who expresses a measure of frustration. A lot of times people, I look back at like The Biggest Loser. I really dug that show, because you'd see somebody, they were just like, wow, 500-600 pounds, and then you see them at the end, they're just like jacked. And of course that's kind of a different regiment, but some people get so far behind the 8 ball, they just don't think it's possible. So kind of speak to fighting through the frustration.
Yeah, Jeff, and what I'd like to do with, as far as the messages between Tim and I and that individual, of course we won't mention their name, but I'll give some background before Tim goes further with it. This person, one of the probably most amazing people I've ever met in my life. I mean, I've met probably 3 people in my life that I felt they're definitely connected to a higher power. Like they literally, it's just some sort of aura around them. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, this person had served in the military and stumbled upon a guy who had tried to commit suicide by jumping in front of a train. The train cut the person's legs off, and so this person that I know basically took his shirt off, took the person's shirt off, used sticks, put tourniquets on the legs, held the femoral arteries with their fingers until help could get there and the ambulance got there and saved this person's life. But in the meantime, that person bled all over them, and they got hepatitis C from it. And this person has been in hospice once, actually got kicked out of hospice because he got better, and then has been spiraling out of control health-wise, liver failing, a lot of stuff going wrong with the body. And I've been pleading with this person because I care about him so much to please, talk to Tim and give this one more shot and try to heal yourself of this hepatitis C, cleanse your body and get this stuff out of there, especially with the MMS that Tim has tapped into also, and Tim can explain more about that. But so they're going to talk again today, and he's, I basically what I had to do was just light a fire under his ass and say, you're not going to die yet. You're going to fight one more time. Let Tim friggin' have a go at you, and let's do this thing. So Tim, you can take it from there.
Yeah. So I talked to this gentleman, and of course I wanted to help him. And again, I'm not some, super expert doctor or anything like that, but I had a gentleman come to me that was a pretty celebrity type guy. I'll leave his name nameless, but he as a singer in a band, and he got hepatitis C from drug, needle use, sharing needles and stuff like that. And he came to me, and he was in kind of sad shape and kind of depressed, and I don't think he was quite as bad as this other guy, but he wasn't doing well. Let's put it to you that way. And back then I said, hey man, just let's do the lifestyle. And he's like, let's do it. So he started doing everything we talked about. He started drinking the water and chewing his food and avoiding liquids with meals and the breath work. And he went plant-based, and he started doing sprouts and sprout juices, living foods, and the green juices and all this stuff, and the probiotics and all these things. And he ended up dropping 44 pounds as a side effect. He was juicing on the road, like he's gonna open, and before he opening act, he's like juicing in the background. He's handing green juices to all these other celebrity stars that are singing and stuff. It was pretty funny. I need to hire him as a rep is what I need to do. But he ended up all of his numbers, his liver numbers, just kept improving. The doctor's like, "What are you doing? This is amazing." And he had pretty much licked it because all the symptoms were gone. He was doing really well. And then there's that drug that came out for hepatitis C. And it's like the only pharmaceutical drug that I know of that actually can cure. I mean, all the other ones don't, but this one actually did. And just to be sure, he went ahead. It was very expensive, but he did that, and he has like zero hepatitis now, which is really cool. But that's what happened to him. So with this other gentleman, I'm like, well, I know we could do this same stuff. And then there's other things now that I've learned over the last 7 years by working with other people and doctors. And it's not like I can't pick up the phone. I have contacts with doctors that are in the natural health field that have been helping heal people for 30, 40, some of them 50 years. And they have little tactics and herbs and different things you can do. Like Pat mentioned, the chlorine, MMS or chlorine dioxide. You go online and look it up, and everybody thinks it's an industrial bleach that's going to kill you. But that's the mask that's put out there to scare people away from something that works really well that's very inexpensive. It's just like if you eat 17 grams of table salt, you're going to freaking die. But does that mean that we should ban table salt and come in and arrest mothers that are leaving table salt out on the kitchen table because it could kill their 2-year-old? No. So why do we do this thing with the chlorine dioxide? Because it frickin' works, and it works well. We have 60% of our municipalities already use it to purify our water, and if you just concentrate it a little bit more, it goes into the body and it works as a beautiful oxidizer, and it kills all harmful organisms, right? Viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and parasites, all these things we were talking about. And from what I learned, it also is a very good protocol for hepatitis C. So that would be something. What we would do is we would layer in the lifestyle. We would cleanse this guy, layer in all the foods and everything, and do some MMS and maybe some other things too. Maybe we would be doing some CBDs to reduce inflammation. Maybe we would be doing some silver. I don't know. So we'd have to put a plan together, and then it's up to him to start implementing this stuff. But you can't push a rope, right? They have to be willing to do this stuff. And but I'd love to help the guy. I'd love to have him transform and be another another shining testimony of what's possible for a human being when they completely take charge of their life and they have somebody helping them that's giving them more of a natural cleansing plan rather than some type of a chemical deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's very fascinating, and I'll be anxious to hear how that turns out. Like I said, it could be another notch in your belt. Take somebody.
Well, I don't even care about a notch in my belt.
A testimony to what your stuff is what I mean.
Help this guy if he wants to help himself. And here's the thing, Jeffrey, is like when you're dealing with people. I've been dealing with people with catastrophic disease now for 7 years in my life, hundreds of them, and they don't all make it. They don't. And a lot of them do a little bit, but then they kind of fade. I've actually seen people, one of the most heart-wrenching things is to watch somebody take a stage 4 diagnosis, completely transform themselves, and then slip off the wagon because of family pressure just to eat. I don't want to make my food and then have to make their food. And the situation I'm talking about was a lady that had lymphoma. And I'm sometimes I still get upset about it, but I have to let it go because she was on the road to wellness. She had healed herself. I mean, she was supposed to die, and she was walking with a cane, and then she had all of her health and vitality back. And then she went and she's like, well, she called me up and she's like, yeah, the cancer's back. And I was like, what? I was like, you were doing so good. She's like, well, I did change my lifestyle. I got tired of making the raw vegan foods, so I kind of went back and I just started eating the cooked foods because I was doing so well, and then it kind of came back. But to see what happens is when it comes back the second time, it comes back like a vengeance, and then you got to work and she just didn't want to do it anymore, and then she passed away. So it's a mixed bag. I mean, sometimes these people they go get blasted with chemo and radiation, and then maybe it's just too late. But I know in my heart, from what I've seen and what I believe and what we're from frickin' nature, that the best thing we can do is love ourselves enough to change, surround ourselves with people that love us, laugh a lot, clean our body out, put nature into our body, move the body, sweat, and love yourself, and be around loving people. And these are the best things that we can do if we want to heal. And get out in nature, and be around the sunshine. Best thing you can do. The sun's our number one immune builder. And get your bare feet on the ground and take that energy up from the earth and charge your cells. And this is not woo-woo stuff. This is major things that work, that help people heal. And people just don't know about it. We're just so detached from nature and reality. We're clueless today. And I think a lot of it's by design. Yeah. And you guys talk about all that stuff on the geopolitical stuff, but a lot of things that are happening to us from people above that have a lot of money that could give a crap about the human, about families, and about American values are really we're corrupted and polluted at this point. So we have to take charge of our own life and break through this this veil they've got over us.
Yeah, and right, and I've always been a good visualizer, right? I've always, I think it came probably from sports, from wrestling, from football. I always visualized before matches, things like that, and then as a professional athlete, visualizing the worst case scenario in a fight, the best case scenario, doing things perfectly, things falling apart, and surviving and coming back. And I do that with life too, and I've visualized many times a diagnosis of cancer and what I would do, and preparing myself, because the numbers of people getting cancer is staggering. It's like 1 or 2 in 4. What is the number now? 1/3 of the people.
Well, what I know is that 57% of people alive today will contract cancer, and by the year 2050,
it's growing. That number is growing, right?
If we stay on current trends, by the year 2000, it varies because things are accelerating, but 2040, 2050, 68 to 72% of people roughly will have cancer. And at that point, when you think about it, I've talked about this before, it will be as common as catching a cold. So you have to ask yourself, have you ever caught a cold? Then you should be very concerned. There's a check body light going off right now in your life, and you better get your shit together and figure this stuff out. Otherwise, you're going to be a statistic, and then you're going to go into that medical model, and you're going to spend a lot of money, and you might mortgage your house, and you might leave your spouse with nothing, because 62% of bankruptcies in our country are related to medical bills.
Right.
It's out of freaking control. $3.3 trillion spent annually.
It's the old pay me now or pay me later.
Yeah, and this is like one of the most there's a lot of CEOs out there. Most undervalued thing is health with our top executives today. They have the worst health of most people.
Well, something I find odd in all of this, I think people kind of, loving yourself, brother, you can't say that enough. People oftentimes have this kind of defeatist attitude, and oftentimes it's fused through, well, I'm just going to be obese, my family's obese, we just have high blood pressure, we just have diabetes in our family, that's just what's going to happen. And I have found, I think The Biology of Belief, an excellent book by Dr. Bruce Lipton, where he talks about epigenetics, above genetics, where it's not just our environment, it's our perception of our environment that really turns on these genes. They just, the genes in our body are almost like an architect's plans. They just lay there until the architect comes up and messes with it. And that I think people really, because that epigenetics has really changed science over the last maybe 20, 30 years, where you're it's not this determinist reality where your genes are just going to just shoot you in a certain direction because your family, blah, 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 blah. It is a choice. It is a lifestyle.
Yeah, no, that's great points, Jeff. And I think it dawned on me when I was probably in high school, where everybody in a family was obese, and they'd say, "Well, it just runs in the family." No, I think it runs in the refrigerator and the pantry in your house.
Yeah, monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, I think people don't have enough knowledge. People don't have enough knowledge about what they're supposed to be eating to begin with to stay healthy. I mean, for God's sakes, look at me. I've said it openly many times, where I thought I knew about nutrition, and I'm learning things every day still about nutrition that I had no clue of. And I was a professional athlete, and I was in elite condition. I mean, I was in great shape. I could do literally anything I wanted to, endurance-wise, but I still wasn't eating correct, and it ended up manifesting in all these health issues later on in life. Even as I was still fighting toward the end of my career, I was suffering from massive health issues and stuff, and didn't even understand it or why it was happening. And it's crazy. So if you consider me as a professional athlete who actually ended up being the best in the world at one time, not knowing what the hell I was doing with nutrition, imagine the vast majority of Americans and how bad it is.
Yeah.
Well, guys, the results speak for themselves. 70% of our children today are overweight, obese, or morbidly obese, and disease is rising in them faster than people 65 and older. So again, monkey see, monkey do. I was driving. I went to the grocery store a few weeks ago, and I was driving out, and I was in front of this other store, and then I had to stop because there was a little girl, about 10 years old, skinny, happy, kind of bouncing around. She was in the front, and then the next person was her mom, probably about 30, 40 pounds overweight, slightly slumped over, not looking that great. And then behind her was the mother, who was probably about 50, 60 pounds, really slumped over, cane, you know what I mean, and walking really slow. And I thought, oh my God, that's the path for that little girl. Because at one time, that old lady was the little girl, but she ended up in that situation. And the daughter, you could see, was right on the same path. And what do you think is going to happen to that? What are the chances that girl is going to be in the same boat as mom and grandma?
Yeah,
pretty high.
Yeah, you painted a great picture with that one.
Pretty freaking high. And my heart goes out. I'm like, I go to the grocery store. I literally almost start crying sometimes, because behind me in line will be these beautiful, wonderful, godlike little children, and they're climbing around on their mom and their dad or whatever, and they're in the shopping cart there, and they're sitting on a big pile. There's a big gallon of pus-filled milk. Dairy milk or whatever, and then there's all this crap, and it's like, I read labels on everything, and I know all the sugars and the super sugars and the chemicals and all the stuff that's in this stuff, and I'm looking at that, and I'm like, that's going to go on their poor little bodies, and it's destroying their gut, it's destroying their health, and it's making them addicted to these processed foods, and it's just like, it's hard. I've had to let a lot of this go. It's been really hard for me, especially because I see it so clearly for people,
right?
But most people have not a clue what's going on to them, and they don't understand that when they're buying food at the grocery store, that they're literally getting poisoned, and there's nobody looking out for them, and it's going right down to their children, and it's just getting worse. It's getting worse.
I'm right there with you, man. I go to the grocery store, and again, I don't mean to be a judgmental prick, because I'm not really judging them, but I see and I observe, like you said, Vest soda, red and blue Vest soda and cupcakes and all this shit. And it's just like, obviously they're the engine light's on, but they just don't care. There's not that self-love. But another thing, you know, we have this conversation about like healthcare, should it be free or blah, 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 blah. What we're talking about is healthcare, but it's preventative healthcare. That's where I think it really, really goes down. You don't wait to call in the bomb squad after it's already gone off. You know, you try to, like you said, with our choices, hopefully make better health choices. But I'm in the grocery store seeing the same stuff, man. Packed carts just full of garbage.
Yeah, that's the thing with fighters that would come in and train with me from Europe, from South America, from Brazil, whatever. Their supermarkets, they don't exist, right? They have a bakery that they go to for their baked goods. They have the fruit and vegetable produce stand that they go to buy that stuff. They have a meat market that they go to for those foods. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are vegetarians or vegans who don't agree with the meat thing, but at very least people should be able to understand in the fighters. But my point was, the fighters from these places would walk through and go shopping because they'd be staying for 2 months to train for a fight. And they would walk through the supermarket. They're from another country, and they'd come back to the gym for training at night or whatever and go, your grocery stores are disgusting. There's literally 10 aisles of garbage. And then on one end is fruits and vegetables, and on the other end is the meats. And that's the only thing we can buy in that place because it's all disgusting poison. And so Americans don't even know that. That's what they've been ingesting their whole lives. I mean, I was raised on Oscar Mayer hot dogs and bologna, and of course other stuff, but that was what was for lunch, and
right.
And my parents didn't know how poisonous it was.
Yeah, Alexander Gustafsson, who is from Sweden, was just on Joe Rogan and said the very thing. He's here training. He's like, dude, I've gained like 20 pounds. Your grocery stores are insane. We just don't have this stuff in Sweden. I mean, that's exactly what he said. You're absolutely right, man. You got people who come from Europe where a lot of this GMO crap is illegal, and they come over here. It's like, look at Japanese women who come over here and get, increased breast cancer because the diet's so fucked up. Messed up.
And people.
This is a really cool story, guys. So,
go ahead.
Dr. Brian Clement, who him and his wife Anna Maria, who run the Hippocrates Health Institute, been doing it for 30 years since the 80s. He said, well, they've had a lot of people, Olympic level athletes, come to them for whatever reason, whether they were ill or they wanted to increase their athletic ability. There was a guy from, I think it was like Ethiopia or something like that. I can't remember. He was like one of the fastest. He was one of the 3 fastest men in the world. But that country he was from didn't have a presence in the Olympics, so he went to train with the Swiss. Okay, and I might not be on perfect point on this story because it's been a long time. So he moved to Switzerland, started training there, and then all of a sudden his time started dropping. And after a while he was one of the fastest 100 guys in the world, not one of the top 3. And they're like, what is going on? He's got the perfect training regimen, everything's going perfect. And he sat there and he finally figured it out himself. He goes, well, the only thing I can think has changed is what I eat. And back in Ethiopia, what he would eat was teff. It's a very small grain that's freaking awesome. And over there, imagine what he was having. He's probably having pancakes and butter and syrup. I mean, he's in Switzerland, right? And all this crap and eggs. And so he shipped some teff up. He got teff. He started eating teff, and then whoop, right back up to the top 3. And he ended up winning the gold medal. And he actually afterwards he opened up a health food store, I think in Switzerland there for a while, and he ran a health food store. But think about that. There's an Olympic level athlete at the top of his game. He changed his diet to more of that standard American diet, and he went from the top 3 fastest runners down to 100 very quickly, and then switched it and went right back up when he went back to his natural, foods that were lower in the food chain and what he was used to eating. Pretty amazing.
The cool thing about this,
there should be a chemical-free body treatment center and spa.
One day. The cool thing about this, man, is it's not a puzzle. This is not some weird, crazy thing that, this is very simple. These are just choices you make. Literally, it's not complicated to just drink more water, to just eat more. It's none of this is complicated. So really, ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm no guru. We're just results matter, like he says. It's all in the choice, man. It's all in the choice we make. Very simple. Yeah. Very simple.
Yeah, and if people out there are struggling, that's why it's so important to have a coach. Because you think about it, when a black bear or a grizzly bear is born, what does it do? it follows around the mother and it models the mother. If you don't know what to do in your life, like if you're overweight, tired, sick, you got health issues and stuff like that, you need a mama bear. You need somebody to model. You need somebody to hold your hands and get you through it. Not forever, but about 6 months would be a good time frame. That's why we do our 6-month coaching program. And we can help people through that process and get them going in the right direction. And you can make more money after you do this, because all of our salespeople that we coach, their sales goes up because they become more energetic and more attractive. They just attract more success. Everybody does. Relationships improve, your health improves, your self-worth improves. Everything improves when you take care of your body. And I always tell people, if you're confused in all aspects of your life, focus on your health. Please focus on your health and everything else gets better. So I think that's it's not that hard, but when you don't know what to do, it is confusing. So a lot of people don't do anything and they just keep doing the same things over and over.
Right. Which can be problematic, as we've heard.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at is, number one, helping a massive amount of Americans. I mean, what's the percentage of Americans that are actually obese right now?
80.
What?
80% of Americans
are overweight, obese, or morbidly obese.
And all of them travel through O'Hare Airport. I can attest to that. I've sat in that airport and looked at the people walking past me. I've done it on many occasions. Just it really truly hits you when you're sitting in an airport, especially in the Midwest, and you see so many heavy, obese people walking through the airport to their next flight, and just go, this is America. This is what it's become.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Well, guys, I'd like to do this thing on sleep before we run out of time.
Go for it, buddy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. So roughly, here's the statistics, guys, and I agree with this because, like, again, coaching over 500 people, I've taken copious notes on them, and I ask, how are you sleeping? On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you sleep? 1, you would, toss and turn all night long, and you wake up completely exhausted. A 10 would be you hit the bed like a rock, you don't move, and you wake up completely refreshed. How many hours do you sleep? So I asked all these questions, well over 500 people, and I found that 60% or higher of people are struggling with their sleep. They're struggling, okay? And yes, breathing air is of most importance, and drinking the water is of most importance, and eating organic foods is most important, and you have to move your body and exercise. But sleep is just as important as all of those. And a lot of times it's neglected because of the demands of life. We get distracted. We stay up late flicking around on our Facebook page or our cell phones or whatever, or watching movies and stuff like that. Once or twice, so what? Shoot me. But, it's daily, the lack of sleep. People are struggling with this, and it's a big problem. And in fact, Americans in 2015, I looked in an article and it showed that Americans, we spent an estimated $41 billion on sleep aids, remedies, and these types of things, right? So that's a lot of money, and that's expected by 2020 to be up over $50 billion. So it's a growing industry. Wow. Because why? People are having trouble sleeping, and it's not good, because that's where we restore ourselves. That's where our body repairs. That's how we grow muscle. That's how we burn fat. You're having trouble losing weight. You're probably sleeping like crap. You can't lose weight that effectively when your sleep's bad. So what are the repercussions for poor sleep? You're going to age faster. You're going to look old, and you're wrinkly, and you're going to have low energy. You're going to have brain fog, and you're going to freaking get sick. You're going to get sick because sleep builds immunity. Sleep builds the immune system. So it's very, very important to get good sleep so that you don't get sick, right? Because you can't afford to get sick. You have to work. You have to take care of your life, kids. Okay, so why can't people sleep? So I just wrote down, there's more, but I wrote down about 7 reasons why people are having trouble sleeping, to maybe hopefully help some folks out there to make some changes in their lifestyle so they can sleep better and be a more productive member for themselves, their family, and society. Okay, so number 1 is stress. Stress is huge. It's unavoidable. So there's things you can do to mitigate that: breathing techniques, yoga, certain things like that, and exercise, one of the best. Number 2 reason why people can't sleep: we're simply full of toxins. If you have a car and it's completely polluted and corroded and jacked up because it's been ran with poor fuel, and it's never been tended to, it's never been maintenance, of course it's not going to run that well. And you're also, it's not just when you're awake that your body's not going to run well when you're full of toxins and chemicals and heavy metals and all this crap. It's also not going to run well when you're sleeping. You're not going to be able to get into that deep, restorative, restful sleep, that rapid eye movement. So we have to get the toxins out. Number 3 reason why people can't sleep: we're dehydrated, okay? Most people are just not, 95% of people are not drinking enough water. Our body's mostly made of water, so drink a lot more water and you'll sleep better.
Is there an exact amount, or is it different? Is it the whole 8-ounce glasses? Is that kind of the standard?
No, I don't like that one because it's too complicated. You know, you got to try to remember all that. 8, 16, 24, 32. It's just, nobody's going to do it. What we have people do is focus on half of your body weight in liquid ounces daily. So if you're 200 pounds, that's 100 ounces a day. If you're 100 pounds, 50 ounces a day. Okay. That's just to maintain ideal health. If you live in a very arid climate, or you speak and talk a lot, or you're exercising profusely, then you're going to need a little bit more. Okay. Number 4 reason why people can't sleep: they're deficient in nutrients. And it's not just the nutrients in the soil. We know 85% of that stuff's been farmed out. That's why, you know, we help people replace that with that Green 85 product. But it's other nutrients too, like the bacteria in the gut. Remember we were talking about that gut-brain connection and those probiotics and the gut bacteria? Again, the body's a one-unit deal, and if you need bacteria in your gut to build your immune system and to be awake and thrive, it's the same thing when you're sleeping. You have to have the good bacteria, and you have to have all these nutrients that are missing in our food chain today if you want to sleep well. Number 5, stale air, poisoned air, polluted air. A lot of people are sleeping with their windows closed. You're breathing in a lot of dust and mold and paint that's off-gassing from the paint on your walls. Every day it's off-gassing. There's, in hot days, the glues that put your particle board together are off-gassing. You're breathing it in. It is imperative that you crack your window at night. I don't care if it's a frickin' snowstorm. Get fresh air into your body while you're sleeping, and that's going to... I have a lot of people, I'm telling you, they just do this one thing. They crack their window open at night, and they start breathing that fresh air, and they sleep way better. Some of them are like, oh my God, I haven't slept this well in years. Simply by cracking the window, you know, what's that cost? Nothing, right? Okay, next one, electromagnetic frequencies. Now, most people are probably thinking about like Wi-Fi, smart meters, smartphones, and all of these are problems. You have to invest a little bit of money in this to block these things. But another one people aren't thinking about is the light sockets, you know, the plug-ins. If you have a light socket or a plug-in within 3 feet of your body, especially your head, where you lay down and sleep, you're basically enveloping yourself into an electromagnetic or ELF frequency all the time. I've taken one of these little, I don't know, it's a little measuring device, and you turn it on, and then as you get closer to the electrical socket, it goes, you know, like that. And 3 feet away, it's still making a buzzing noise. Now think about that. You're laying down in bed trying to get sleep, and your head's right there in that invisible silent cloud, and it's sitting there zapping you all night. That's going to not only disturb your sleep, but it's going to screw you up and lead to sickness and illness. And we've had a lot of people. And now today you can actually buy little things for like $50, and you can plug them in, and it blocks that, especially because some people are not going to move their beds. Okay, I've talked to a lot of the women are like, I'm not moving my bed. It's freaking perfect. It's designed this way, and it's beautiful. So, okay, well then you got to get these little
plus the headboard is smashed into that same spot over and over. They don't want to move it and fix the wall.
Yeah. Yes.
That's on a roll
and
today.
if you're doing all this stuff and being healthy,
sorry, I had to
a lot more of that going on, and you'll recover faster from the bruises. All right,
there you go.
You guys are killing me today.
Number seven is eating late and drinking late. This one is missed out by a lot of folks because there's a lot of people that, like, I was coaching a guy yesterday, and he says, Tim, I get up, I don't eat a lot of breakfast, I get to work at noon, and he gets off around 8, but with his job sometimes it's 9, 10. He comes home, he eats a big meal, and he passes out. Well, if you eat late, you're not going to sleep very well. You think you're sleeping, but you're not. Okay, so here's how it works. And now we're going to get into we'll just get into a little bit of digestion speeds of food. So if you have a fruit, or let's say a melon. If you eat melons, you can digest a melon in 15 to 30 minutes, and the digestion is done. A fruit, 30 minutes to an hour, and digestion is done. Vegetables, about 2 to 2.5 hours of digestion, and then it's done. If it's plant-based and it's a heavy protein and fat, like nuts and seeds and those things made like hummus, that's going to take 3 to 4 hours to digest, and then it's done. Now, meats and animal products, those can take up to 3 days to digest, so that's a whole nother ballgame. We'll just focus on the plant-based things. Let's say you go to bed at, Pat, what time do you go to bed?
I usually go to bed. It varies. I mean, I go to bed sometimes at 1 o'clock in the morning and get up at 4 o'clock because I don't know. I just do. Sometimes I'll go to bed at. Sometimes I'll fall asleep at. Sometimes I'll fall asleep at 8 or 9 o'clock. See, it's been a lot earlier of late. I can tell you that.
So let's just say 9 o'clock as an example. So if Pat falls asleep at 9 o'clock and he knows his bedtime is at 9 o'clock, then when should he stop eating? Well, it depends on what you eat. If you had some melon, you could probably eat that at 8:30, and then you'll sleep. If it was fruit, it would probably be 8 o'clock would be the latest he'd want to eat that fruit. If it was a vegetable, he'd probably want to stop eating that vegetable at around 7 o'clock, maybe 6:30. And if he ate the nuts and seeds, he'd want to stop eating about 3 to 4 hours before that, right? Maybe 5 o'clock. Because here's the deal. When you put food into your body, your body's primary job is digestion. It has to do it. It's not going to say, oh, well, Pat's going to go to bed at 9 o'clock. We'll just leave the food setting here in the gut at 98.6, and when he wakes up in the morning, we'll start digesting again. That's not going to happen. So the digestion is primary. It's going to take place, period. So what happens is let's say Pat has, he eats a bowl of hummus and some cucumbers, and it's 8:45, and he goes to bed at 9 o'clock. When's he going to actually be able to get into that rapid eye movement, that deep restorative sleep? Now, he might fall asleep, but he's not getting the benefits of sleep until when? Probably 3 to 4 hours. So 8:45 would be 9:45, 10:45, 11:45. It could be 11:45 to 12:45 before the digestion process is done, and now your body can switch over and then start slipping into sleep mode. You see the problem there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and for most Americans, that's, a cheeseburger and French fries.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter, right? So if you're eating an animal-based food, you're going to be digesting that all night long, and for most folks, and you're just not going to. You're going to sleep like shit. That's what's going to happen.
Is that the same? I mean, I have to admit it, man. And it just kind of came around the last maybe year, dude. My freaking sweet tooth has come back. So at night, to fight that, I've been doing my shakes, an avocado, peanut butter, almond, coconut milk. I mean, obviously that's still digestion. Is that a bad idea to put some? I don't know. I just want because I work late.
What time are you doing it?
I mean, when I work late, man. So I get off at like 12. I mean, generally late.
You do it at midnight?
I mean, I'll get off work sometimes 11, 12 o'clock at night. So I'll come home and need to eat something. So yeah.
Okay. And then when do you go to bed?
Maybe an hour or two later.
Yeah. So with the avocado being a heavier protein fat and the peanut butter and that kind of stuff, you're not going to be able to get into that deep sleep mode probably until 5 o'clock in the morning. And
I tell you, man, I wake up and I don't
wake up exhausted.
Yes, I wake up and I wake up maybe my body wakes up literally 7:37 every morning. I'm up for maybe an hour feeling fine, but then I'm just like, fuck, man, I'll just be tired. So
what's going to happen is you're going to have to plan ahead. And you're going to have to, if you're going to be in bed by 1, then 12, 11, 10, 9 o'clock, you have to stop eating at 9. So you're going to have to eat something between 8 and 9 o'clock. You're going to have to figure it out somehow. Or have a shake ready. So if you're busy dealing with people, you can just run in there. You have your shake pre-made and you slam it and boop, and then you go.
Would that be the same with juice? Anything?
You can mix up a green 85 juice.
Right.
Shake that, slam it. That'll be done in 20 minutes through, and then you can go to bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Which I need
to regulate your blood sugar, and that'll help you.
Cool. That's good to know. Thank you.
The other thing, guys, is drinking late. So it's the same thing. The Indians used this a long time ago because they didn't have alarm clocks. So during wartime, if they knew they were going to war, they would drink just tons and tons of water the night before because they'd have to pee, and that would wake them up early, right? So that was their alarm clock. So if you drink a lot of water, then you're going to have to pee, right? So what we learned at the Institute, if I remember right, was you should stop drinking water preferably 2 hours before you go to sleep. An hour's pretty good, but I mean, optimal, who does that all the time? So, but so water is another thing too, because that can get you up. A lot of people have to get up at night and pee, right? So it could be you're just drinking too much water too late. Maybe a little bit of water before you go to bed, but just be careful with that. So guys, those are 7. I could go on for more and stuff like that. There's a lot more. We could get into your types of beds and your pillows and having a husband that's over there snoring his ass off, and stuff like that. But those are some things that hopefully those listening can take this and make some like, oh man, yeah, I have that, and now I can switch, or I can do this, or I can change, I can crack my window at night. I'm really going to focus on drinking more water. I'm going to try to get these toxins out of my body and try to work on my stress load.
Well, I mean, this is why we keep having you on, bud. So, I mean, obviously, as more information comes, I mean, because this is, for people who are really kind of behind the 8 ball, this can be a little overwhelming, like all the different things to check. But, I mean, that's why we love, obviously, having you on, so you can kind of help people with the process, because obviously this is a process.
Well, yeah, and you don't have to do it all at once, because you'll fail. There's no way. I mean, I still have things that I've known about for years that I know I need to do, and I haven't even got around to implementing them yet.
Right.
So little baby steps. That's all that matters, is to go forward. I use a little tactic from Mel Robbins, which is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Anytime I think about doing something, you have 5 seconds before that self-talk will talk you out of it, just like when you wake up in the morning. Instead of hitting the alarm clock, maybe I should sleep in. I went to bed a little bit late last night. Maybe I should do this. And you fall back to sleep, right? And then your day's behind and you're struggling and blah, blah, blah. Right. Rather than just your alarm goes off, you hit 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you do that backwards countdown, and you just launch yourself out of bed and you go. You start making any decision you have to make. That's a tactic that we teach in our coaching program. That's it's so powerful. I use it all the time. I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I dig that, because you're right, man. That voice will get you.
Yeah, they're definitely.
I need to do that now with when I think about going for a run.
Pat, I'm telling you, this shit works. It works amazing. In fact, you can listen to her audiobook when you're running. It's Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule. Listen to her audiobook. She's awesome. I freaking love that lady. She just
I'll download that for when I'm working
awesome.
out.
She is freaking awesome. I love it.
Well, Pat, do you have any closing comment statement for our good buddy Tim James, CEO of the Chemical Free Body?
No, I'm good. I mean, we have filled our heads and hopefully our listeners' heads with a lot of good stuff, a lot of good information, and that's in bits and pieces. People ingest it, and hopefully it's changing some lives. We've got I've gotten numerous messages from people who have thanked me for steering them towards chemicalfreebody.com and the products. People who have literally changed their health and their life with it. So that's a good thing. And this is not it's just. You feel so bad for people, and the people that just won't do it or don't want to try. And so I implore people to get up, go get a gym membership, man. Start working out, start eating right, eat better, don't eat processed foods, just give it a shot.
Well, and don't, and let food be thy medicine, not medicine be thy food. Don't be so quick to go to the doctor to get, whatever pill that's ailing you, because like we just talked about.
That's the thing. And I've got to add this before we get off, because I sit on a board, a panel of people in the Quad Cities, and I got lucky to even be asked to be on this, because I'm not a professional medical person. I'm not a natural healing expert. I'm none of the above. But it's the opioid and heroin crisis in this country, and the opioid crisis, the painkillers, is being created. Number one, the Joint Commission that certifies hospitals and allows them to open and will close them if they do not prescribe enough painkillers to their patients. They're the number one culprit, but also the processed foods that are causing inflammation and all these toxins and stuff. Right. And then people end up at the doctor asking for painkillers, and it spirals out of control from there. 65,000 people died last year from opioid and heroin overdoses, and now they're making knockoff opioids with fentanyl. They're putting fentanyl in it. They're cutting it, and fentanyl is obviously a big-time killer. It kills people literally almost on the spot. We've seen police officers testing heroin who've accidentally touched it or got a puff of the dust into their nostrils, and they've OD'd from the fentanyl. Wow. And they have to hit them with Narcan to bring them back to life. And so this crisis, with the painkillers is being caused by, a lot of it is being caused by what people are putting in their bodies and the misery that they're in. And then they're going to the doctors and depending on pharmaceutical stuff. And it's just this nasty, vicious spiral that will not stop until Americans wake up and realize that as a country, we eat 95% of the painkillers globally.
What?
95%. Yes, we ingest 95% of the painkillers that are handed out globally.
Wow.
That tells you how bad it is in America right now. Wow. And how brainwashed people are.
That's a staggering statistic, man. That's crazy.
Right. And once people get addicted to this stuff, it's history, man.
Yeah.
It's bad. So,
and we know it's all by design.
Yeah, very true. All by design, very much so.
To dumb people down, make them. I mean, why do they milk cows for milk? Why don't they milk a walrus, or why don't they milk lions? Right? Because they're dumb. Well, they're not dumb. They're smart animals. We raise cattle and stuff, but they're actually pretty cool. But they're big and slow, and they're docile, right? So, and they're easily to control, and that's what they want us to be. And when somebody takes charge of their life and their health, they don't fall for all this crap.
Right.
They don't put up with it. And they don't like people like that.
Well, and once you get the brain fog and the gut fog, like all of that out, I mean, I guess that would make sense that you would begin to start thinking a lot more clearly about what you're putting in your body, etc.
Yeah, and I think the message for this show is to our listeners is stop allowing them to farm you.
Yeah, there you go. That's a T-shirt right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we are the Conspiracy Farm, so you can farm with us if you'd like.
That's a good one.
We accept that kind of farming. Well, yeah, this has been very informative, Tim, and obviously, we're going to be having you back, as the summer goes on. I'm heading back to Iowa. Pat and I are about ready to take this whole thing to another level, get the, on-camera version of us in studio. And
that's going to be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you're going to be joining us, hopefully, if you make it down to the quad. But I, as always, sir, appreciate your time. Tim James, CEO of Chemical Free Body.
I want to let the people know out there that if you're out there today and you're struggling with your health, you're struggling with your weight, you're struggling with relationships, you have a serious illness, whatever it is, most likely it's not your fault, okay? You have been farmed, basically, right? You're in an ecosystem that is so polluted today that every single child being born has well over 250 man-made chemicals in the blood of the umbilical cord and in that blood of that newborn baby and that mother.
That's crazy.
What does that mean? Guys, it means that we're all polluted, okay? And if you want to have your ideal life and you want to be happy, you have to cleanse your body. You have to cleanse your blood. It's not difficult. It can be done. And if you failed in the past, don't let that stop you, because you probably just had a bad information. That's all it probably was. You try and do the Atkins diet or some stupid diet or program, or do 500 calories a day and eat these chemical bags of food and eat 1 chicken breast and 3 pieces of broccoli a day. It's not sustainable. That doesn't make sense, but people are so desperate to lose weight and to get healthy, they keep trying things and then they fail. And then they wait a while, and then they get fatter, and then they get pissed, and they try again, and they just keep going to these people that don't even have results themselves. Right. So don't beat yourself up. You can do this. You're no different than me or Pat or anybody else. You're a human being. You have red blood. You have tissues. You have organ systems. You just need to take care of yourself, love yourself, clean yourself up, and put some good nutrition in. Drink a lot of water. Start working on your sleep. And slowly but surely, you're going to get better, and you can achieve what you want. You can do this. So again, guys, thank you so much for having me on here and having us in your phone, your home. And I'd like to offer that our Ultimate Gut Cleanse manual, how I healed myself of being, having all my health issues. It's in the manual. It's a step-by-step guide. And we're also going to give 30 minutes of free coaching, free health history to anybody listening. If they'd like that, all they have to do is send us an email to info@chemicalfreebody.com. That's info@chemicalfreebody.com. And we would be happy to send that to you ASAP. So thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, buddy.
Awesome, Tim. Thank you for your time, buddy. This was a great show, great episode, very educational, and I hope a lot of people take your offer up.
And you can obviously check his stuff out, chemicalfreebody.com. This has been, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tim James. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. There will always be more.